Barley Corners and anyone else that might be watching. If you didn't see my intro last week, my name's Marian and I'm a mixed media artist based in March in Finland, and I'm here to get you all art journaling. Yay, my favourite thing to do. So in this video this week, we're going to be looking at what you're going to journal in. So I'm going to look at some commercial journals and some of my own handmade journals, and then I'm going to guide you through the techniques, processes to make some of the variations of journals that I show you. And hopefully you will feel super inspired and ready to go, and will make your own journals and get cracking. So I just want to say before we start that hopefully one of these ideas will appeal to you. If not, hopefully they will inspire you to come up with your own ideas. There is absolutely no rules in art journaling, which I love to tell people because it's absolutely true. If you don't like what I show you, you might come up with another idea and can use that instead, and that's absolutely fine. Art journaling is all about expressing yourself creatively and doing what you want to do and making the journal yours. So there's no point making a journal because someone else has told you to if you don't like that style of journal. So don't feel obliged. Do look through and take on board what I've said, and then if you want to go your own way and have a go at something new and different, that's absolutely cool. I hope when you've all made a journal, you're going to share it with us, because we'd love to see what you're doing and what you're making. So please do consider that. No pressure, but if you'd like to, we'd love to see. Okay, let's get on and look at journals. So here we are in my studio, all ready to get going. Before we do anything else, I'm just going to talk you through some types of books that we can use for our art journaling. So I'm going to start with bought books, and then I'll move on to handmade ones later on. So these sketchbooks are the sort that I use when I'm out and about doing my basic art journaling workshops. They're A5, cardboard cover, just plain pages inside, very basic. They're very inexpensive, only about 60 or 70p, and easily available. So that is my favourite type. While I'm saying A5, it's reminded me I would recommend that we go with A5 for our journals. This is an A4 book, but I don't want anyone to feel overwhelmed or pressured by the size of the pages and you know how they may feel about having to fill such a large book. So I'm going to recommend we go with A5. If you've got an A4 book and you're happy to go with it, that's absolutely fine. But A5 is probably best if you're brand new to art journaling. So this one I'm just showing you, ignore the fact it's A4, but it's spiral bound. So this is another sort that you could use. Again, it's got board covers this time, just plain white pages, and it's spiral bound, which has the benefit of you being able to fold it back, which can be quite useful. So a spiral bound A5 is good as well. If you haven't got a plain sketchbook at home, and I'm trying to focus on using what we have rather than going out and buy stuff because we can't. So if you've got a lined notebook, that would also do. You know, the lines will get covered up anyway, most likely, and if the pages aren't very thick, we can always stick them together. So, you know, if you've only got a lined notebook available, then that's cool too. Now, if you are going to use a bought book, what I will say is try hard to use either one this one's been stitched, I don't know if you can see that, stitched down the centre spine there, and these ones that I use in workshops, they're stapled. You can see the staples there. So stapled or stitched is good. Try not to use one that's got a glued spine. Glued spine is very common. Paperbacks are they are always glued spine. The problem with glued spines for art journaling is this will happen. You know, we're going to be using paint and wet media. We might put 3D objects in our books. We're going to be opening them flat and, you know, messing about. They're going to get a bit of treatment, and a glued spine will do this, as that sheet very helpfully showed us. You know, when you start doing this and, you know, spreading your journal, pages will come out, and that's what we don't want. We don't want all your hard work to fall apart. So try and avoid a glued spine if you possibly can. And go with stapled or stitched instead. So that's all about bought books. Now let's move on to making our own books.
So now let's get going on making our first journal. So the first process I'm going to show you is for the elastic band journal that I showed you earlier on, which is really simple and easy, and we can get you journaling in a jiffy. Oh, I like that phrase, journaling in a jiffy. So I'm working, all of these videos I'll be working in A5 format. If you are feeling happy to work in a smaller format or a larger format, that's absolutely fine. Go with it. I'm all about making it your own, but I will be working in A5. So some of this, what are you going to need? So you're going to need a cover. Well, you don't have to have a cover actually, you could just work with pages. This cover on this one is just wallpaper and it's not particularly sturdy in the same way as this card. So if you want to find yourself a card cover, that's absolutely fine. If you don't, then you can always wait until something grabs your eye later on. You can still be making your pages and have a temporary cover if you want. I've got another piece of wallpaper here that would make a perfectly good alternative cover. This is one of the lovely it was actually A4, oh actually look, it's A3, Amazon mailers that I've chopped down to make into an A5 cover. So you need a cover if you want a cover. So obviously you need some inner pages. I will go through these in a moment, but I've got a selection of different A4-ish size pages. You're going to need an elastic band or similar for your spine. Another equipment you might need, you might not, but you might need scissors, a ruler, a bit of glue you might need, a bone folder if you've got one. If not, a spoon, bog standard spoon is absolutely fine, and you might want a pencil. So when you've gathered all that together, we're good to go. So I'm going to put my covers aside for a minute and talk about papers. So, what if you haven't got, plain white paper? So I'm starting with plain white paper. This is all copy paper, so this has come out of my printer, and I had a rummage around and found that I'd got green and blue as well. So this is all bog standard sort of printer paper, which you may well have lurking around your house. But if you haven't got plain white or plain coloured paper, what are you going to use? So I've got a selection of stuff here to show you, just as a selection of ideas really, and I'm sure you'll go off around your house hopefully and have a look and see what you've got that you can utilise. This is a page out of an old notebook that I was using last year. It got a few pages left in it, so I took them out. So it's a page of an old notebook. This is a paper bag from Kew Gardens, which I went to last summer. So I've actually chopped this off to make it A4 to start with. This is a bit of packaging. It came on around a bundle of handmade papers, so never throw anything away. This is a piece of paper I used on my desk, so it's a bit mucky, but that's fine. I'm happy with that. Magazine pages. So they're good for, they're usually quite, I don't know, quite a good thickness really. Some of them are a bit flimsy, but you can always stick several together if you want to make them sturdier. So magazine pages are an option. Newspaper, I've got a bit of newspaper here that I'm going to use. I've actually, this is one full sheet of newspaper. I folded it in half and glued it, and I've folded it in half again, but I haven't glued it yet. I may well do that. And okay, what about envelopes? Most of us are going to have had some post and have some envelopes knocking about. So these are already A5 ones, and I have slit the sides of these. But you might also want to use, if you've got any A4 envelopes, just fold them to make pages with your A4 envelopes. These have the advantage of creating a pocket as well, Now we're going to look at pockets and flaps and all sorts of interesting things to add to your journals later on in this video series. We've got a ready-made one there if you use envelopes. So once you've gathered your pages, it's really up to you how many you want to put in your book. I'm not sure how many I'm going to put in mine. I think just for speed we'll go for 8. So I'm going to have a piece of newspaper, that magazine page, paper bag would be good. What's that? That's 3. I'll have a bit of copy paper, like the green. I'm all about green, I love green. 3, 4, 5. So I'll have that brown envelope. That bit of packaging, notebook, that bit. I'm not entirely certain if that makes 10 or not, but that will do. The good thing about envelopes is you can fold them inside out and have the lovely pattern as well. So you need to get your pages folded, ready for going into your cover. So if they're A4, you need to fold them obviously. Now you'll notice some of my pages have got torn edges rather than cut edges. I like torn edges. I think it adds another bit of texture to your books, but if you are a straight edge kind of person, that's absolutely fine as well. It's not a problem if you don't like. I have quite a grungy, mixed media-y sort of style with my art journals, so I really do not mind torn edges, but I know that some people dislike them. So, but don't worry if you don't want grungy edges, you can always have nice straight ones. So I folded all these. I'm going to give them a whiz over with a bone folder just to give us nice crisp edges. As I said earlier, if you don't have a bone folder, a spoon is a perfectly good tool to use instead. So you don't need any of this specialist, that doesn't need one. Don't need any of this specialist equipment if you haven't got it already. So that's my 2 envelopes, so they're fine. So that's all my pages folded and ready to go. So now you need to work out what order you want them in. So, and as I said earlier, if you want to change the order of your pages, that's the beauty of this method with elastic bands, is that you can do that. So pop them into whatever order you think you fancy and get them all centred if you want them centred. A bit of envelope. Oh, there we go, a bit of magazine page. Which won't open. That's my bit of newspaper, which you'll notice is smaller than A5. Paper bag, and my last bit of copy paper. So you've got all your pages nicely nestled into one another. If you're using a cover, you know, I'm going to add that bit of wallpaper anyway, so which wouldn't do as a cover because it's not big enough. But if you're using a cover, put your pages inside your cover. See whether you're happy with that. Now you'll see with mine, some of my pages hang out the edge of my cover. I'm not sure if I'll trim them. I might do, or I might not. For now, I'm not going to worry about it. So I've got my pages into my cover, and now we're going to put an elastic band on. So while I'm, oops, just hold that down. So I've got a selection of elastic bands here. You need to find one that's, you know, that one would probably be a bit tight. You don't want one that's so tight that it kind of pulls the edges of your covers and pages and crinkles them, because it could tear them as well. So make sure you've got a big enough one. That'd be big enough. This is some sort of stationery tag, I think. It was with a file or a folder or something like that. It's got a little metal thing, but that is perfectly usable. And I found these not that long ago. These are sort of elastic headbands, super cheap. I think I got 5 for £1 or something in a pack. But so if you happen to have an elastic headband hanging around,
That's a good thing to utilise as well. So then I've just popped it over the top into the centre of my journal. There we go. I'm good to go with an A5 journal, and what, 5 minutes after I started. So fantastic.